Sentinel reports that the Gates Foundation is the initial major stockholder in the global digital ID scheme being rolled out by the World Economic Forum. Gates originally said it was a conspiracy theory, but now he openly touts it. The World Government Summit in Dubai, Oracle co-founder Larry Ellison, he proposed that each nation unify citizen data, including health records, finances, and voting history, all into a centralized database to enable AI applications, of course, in public services like fraud detection and resource allocation. So now they're going to fight voter fraud by giving you a mark of the beast system. Well, critics, including myself, they have condemned the plan as a step, well, toward dystopian surveillance. We have cited a complete disrespect for privacy rights with, well, really comparisons to authoritarian Orwellian control. We're right to do so. Digital IDs, they are, well, only a step in the process of getting us to global citizenship, which is essential to global rule. And then you can kiss national sovereignty goodbye. And then everybody will just be a citizen of the world to roam as they choose, except for those who are banned because they're Christians or conservatives. In short, it's pivotal to creating a global superstate where everyone lives in accordance, well, with the dictates of a centralized system run by, you guessed it, AI. And of course, for those familiar with the Bible and Bible prophecy, it sounds very much like the beast system, which at some point will be handed off to an antichrist figure who's bent on world domination. So the question is, are you ready to resist?
Of course Bill Gates is behind this. How did we not all see this coming? We really need to just lock that guy up. He wants to depopulate the world. He wants control of our food supply. He wants control of the healthcare system. He's deeply embedded in pretty much every other conspiracy that we talk about. Why are people still listening to this guy? Bill Gates is the epitome of the idea that money is the root of all sorts of evil. Not surprising at all that he's the one pushing for this digital ID stuff. I guess he thinks he's going to be the one running the show or something. But real quick, before we move on, I just wanted to apologize to everyone for not having an upload for yesterday. I had intended to shoot a video yesterday, but I had to put that on hold because we're trying to prepare for some festivities this weekend. My little boy is about to turn 6 years old. But missing days in the middle of the week like that is not going to become routine. I am trying to get back on track with this 5 days a week upload schedule.
So a lot of developing news coming out in the last 24 hours. We have nuclear warnings and World War III threats that are being exchanged between the United States and Russia. Let's go ahead and take a look at the latest headlines and video footage so you can see it for yourself. Now, coming out here, you can see yesterday, September 30th, Trump's nuclear warning to Moscow. The president tells the Kremlin America has more nukes than anyone else and confirms that he sent lethal submarine to the coast of Russia after Putin allies World War III threats. Now, in addition to that, we saw in that big meeting with all the U.S. admirals and generals, Pete Hegseth tells top generals, prepare for war. Now I'm going to share with you some video footage so you can see it for yourself, and he also issues a warning to our adversaries. He says to our enemies, F-A-F-O. But take a look here. We're hearing that Russia, look at this, World War III is now inevitable, as Russia has little to deter it from taking on the West. The threats are ramping up. We heard Russia say that war is the only path forward. And take a look at this coming out yesterday as well in foreign news media outlets. Putin issued a fiery speech on Russia's reunification day, stuns the U.S. as he mocks Trump in his address. Putin has come out and vowed to win a righteous battle, saying that what is taking place right now is a righteous war for Russia, and he says they will win. And he is actually calling for a draft to be issued in Russia to bring more people in to fight in this righteous war. So it looks like things are ramping up, but at the same time, we have Donald Trump saying, hey, nuclear threats right back at you, Russia. And also Pete Hegseth coming out and saying, Russia, F-A-F-O. And I'm seeing it in the comments. So we're going to be seeing where we go from here. But as I've mentioned to you, it looks like things are ramping up and escalating regarding conflict with war and issues with threats, warnings, World War III, nuclear attacks. We're going to see where we go from here.
What's so frustrating about this is that one week Trump will claim that they're inching toward a peace agreement. Then the next week he'll say that they aren't. Then the following week they're back to peace talks again. And I know that this stuff is likely far more complicated than a guy like me could possibly understand. But I do remember Trump claiming that he was going to shut this war down with one phone call before he ever even got sworn in. Now we're sitting here roughly 3/4 of a year after his inauguration and they're trading jabs about who has the biggest missile. And I know that it's somewhat important to keep an eye on news like this, and this is one of the main things being talked about by the media right now. But I just can't help but feel like they'll be saying something completely different this time next week. It is starting to look like they don't actually want to stop this war, though. I'm starting to think that's just the narrative they want us to believe. Hey, don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you haven't already, and don't forget to drop your theories and your comments in the comment section down below.
35 years is how long this plane trip lasted. Yeah, years. You heard that right. Years. Santiago Airlines Flight 513 boarded in 1954 and landed in 1989, flying from Aachen, Germany on September 4th, 1954 to Porto Alegre, Brazil, with 88 passengers and 4 crew members on board. It was about to finish crossing the Atlantic Ocean when it just completely disappeared a few hours into its flight, very close to the Bermuda Triangle. Now, disappearing planes are oddly not out of the ordinary. They actually happen all the time, like the infamous flight MH370, which was flying from Malaysia to Beijing back in 2014 when it mysteriously changed course mid-flight and started flying into the middle of the Indian Ocean, only to vanish a few hours later with no traces of the plane on any radars, just like Flight 513. Except debris from MH370 was found washed ashore in Madagascar 5 years later in 2019. Meanwhile, only 2 years after Flight 513 vanished, the search was called off in 1956. Then, out of nowhere, on October 12, 1989, the exact plane just lands without any radar warning in Brazil. 35 years later. 35 years. How is that even possible? When it landed, the airport security team rushed the plane to investigate, and they could not believe what they found. 92 skeletons still seated on the plane with their seatbelts on, passengers, crew, captain, and all, with the pilot literally still clutching the controls in his hand. The other big question is here, how did this plane even land? Some theories claim this plane entered a wormhole over the Bermuda Triangle and traveled through time, while others that they were abducted by aliens or landed on some remote island and died of starvation. A lot of online sources say this is a hoax, but others claim the Brazilian government investigated and refused to disclose details to the public after they realized they had no valid explanations for it. But that's exactly what you would expect a government to do if something unexplainable ever happened with no plausible explanation. Deny it and paint the discovery a hoax. Especially in 1989, before the internet and online channels like this were widely used and the general public had no way of sharing information with each other. Which is why no photo or video proof has been released other than this tabloid newspaper article, with those same people stating that even a plane that old could have easily landed itself with autopilot. Santiago Airlines went out of business 2 years after this flight, so no executives were around 35 years later to confirm records either. Remember to never blindly accept what you hear as absolute fact, including what I'm saying right now, and to always question everything. This is likely an urban legend, but you can never know for sure.
It's finally happened. Being over 450 videos in, I don't remember if we've ever talked about this conspiracy on here or not. It's actually been quite a while since I've even heard anyone bring this one up, but I'm kind of glad to hear it being talked about again. It's a really fun one. And I don't buy it, of course, but it's pretty interesting that the airline that this supposedly happened to went out of business shortly after. It almost makes me wonder if that tabloid article circulated a little too well, maybe causing some sort of panic in the general population and costing this company their business, making people too scared to board one of their airplanes. That would be a pretty bad story to have circulating about your company, that you lost 96 people for 35 years only to have them all turn up dead. And of course, this is almost certainly a hoax. But I did find something pretty interesting while digging into it. The airplane was a Lockheed Super Constellation aircraft. I can't help but to find that a bit suspicious.
So we're all pretty aware by now that the Philippines has just been battered with a 6.8 magnitude earthquake just last night. But is all of this actually natural? Let me show you something. Okay, so over the last few weeks, we have seen a massive chain of powerful earthquakes rattling Asia and parts of the Pacific, Afghanistan, the Philippines, tremors that are very close to Russian territory. We're not talking about just a couple small shakes either. These are major earthquakes, 6.0, 6.8, 8.8. You know, communities are completely devastated, buildings are destroyed, and lives are flipped completely upside down. And yes, a lot of this happens along the Pacific Ring of Fire, you know, one of the most active seismic regions in the world. But the cluster of timing and the geographical proximity to Russia's sphere has definitely raised many eyebrows. Okay, so let me introduce you to Vladimir Putin's brand new toy that he has just finished a 10-year construction of. Under the surface, quite literally, Russia has been developing something that sounds like it has came straight out of a Cold War thriller. This is called Poseidon, the god of the sea, the mythological god that caused earthquakes and tsunamis to the earth. This is a nuclear-powered, nuclear-armed, autonomous torpedo. This beast isn't launched like a traditional missile. It's designed to travel deep underwater, evade detection, and if needed, detonate near enemy coastlines to generate massive radioactive tsunamis. Now, reports are saying that the first units of this machine have already been built and tested many times, and Putin has bragged about this system publicly, making sure that the world knows exactly that this exists. Now, some military analysts have even theorized that testing such a device in sensitive tectonic regions could, in theory, influence fault lines or trigger seismic disasters. It's not proven, but technically possible. Now, let's piece all of this together, you know. A cluster of major earthquakes near areas of Russian naval activity. A brand new underwater nuclear system that is built to create devastation through the ocean itself. A worldwide tension that is already sky high. Is it really that far-fetched to at least ask the question, what if some of these earthquakes aren't just natural? What if behind the scenes strategic tests or power moves are happening in a way that the public will never be told? Because remember, underwater activity is one of the easiest places to hide military operations. The ocean is vast, deep, and incredibly difficult to monitor. Now, I'm not saying this is 100%, but imagine if it was, you know. This is a real thing. They have created a nuclear bomb under the sea that is named after the mythological god that made earthquakes and tsunamis to the earth. You know, the line between natural disaster and man-made chaos suddenly gets very blurry, and earthquakes shake the ground, but some moves shake the entire world. But obviously, for the censorship reasons, this was just for entertainment. I love you all, beautiful people, and I'm as fictional as a dinosaur, baby.
The Poseidon is equipped with a miniature nuclear reactor, granting it a virtually unlimited range. This allows it to travel vast distances, operating autonomously for extended periods. In 2018, Russian President Vladimir Putin announced the Poseidon as one of 6 new strategic weapon systems aimed at countering U.S. missile defenses. It is considered an asymmetric deterrent designed to bypass traditional anti-ballistic missile systems. The weapon is intended for striking coastal cities, ports, and naval facilities. Well, maybe this would explain why Putin doesn't seem to be so intimidated by all the big brother talk from the United States. I don't see how we could stop something like that. That doesn't sound good at all.
The UK has just concluded a trial of a personal carbon dioxide allowance, which, as the name implies, calculates how much carbon dioxide is produced annually in the UK, and then divides that per person per day, then works out by how much that figure needs to fall in order to meet net zero goals. We have the white paper in my office that informed the trial. The whole concept of a daily carbon dioxide allowance is now out there for all to see. Conspiracy theory no more. I bloody told you so. To anyone who is advised by data and empirical evidence, not mass formation psychosis, carbon dioxide is the gas of life, necessary for all life on Earth. It's plant food. The more CO2 produced, the more food, plants and trees the Earth is blessed with. The climate change scam is not founded on science, it's founded on feelings. It has become a religion for those who consider themselves above religion. Quick maths means your daily food allowance of 2,600 grams of carbon dioxide will be enough to buy 26 grams of red meat, one mouthful, and then eat nothing else that day. I raised this years ago in this chamber when the World Economic Forum first called for a limit on red meat of 30 grams a day. Another conspiracy theory that's come true. A cooked breakfast will have to be half the size to squeeze into your daily allowance, again with nothing left over for food for the rest of the day. Your daily allowance will cover 2 plant-based meals a day because predatory billionaires like BlackRock and Bill Gates are buying up farmland to grow the cereals and soy needed for plant-based meals. So not surprisingly, the whole thing is rigged towards the products they can exploit for their own financial gain, including plant-based fake meat, which contains 20 chemical ingredients. Most are shared with pet food. The World Economic Forum at Davos has hosted speakers calling for this system to include carbon dioxide credit trading, so rich people can live their lives exactly as they do right now, and poor people can skimp on food, clothing, travel, electricity and entertainment, and sell their excess credits to rich people.
This is the future they want for us. And I actually came across a document here lately. Really am shooting myself in the foot for not saving it. But someone had come across the documentation stating what the new rules are going to be for people in order to cause them to hit net zero. They don't want us to eat meat. They don't want us to own our own vehicles. They plan to only allow us to purchase 12 new articles of clothing a year. You can only get new electronics every 7 years. And this one, I can't remember specifically if we were allowed to fly on a plane once every 3 years or 3 times per year, but I would guess it would be the one that gives us the least amount of freedom. I had this saved on X so that I could screenshot it and post it in one of these videos, but wouldn't you know it, I wake up this morning and that post is gone. It was just deleted for some reason. And I doubt the person who posted it, who's trying to warn everybody, actually deleted their own post. The next time I come across something like that, I'm getting a screenshot of it immediately. I really hate just asking y'all to take my word for something. But y'all just wait. All those details are going to be made public soon enough, the moment they start getting people to comply with the digital ID.
Our pew-pews and our gas-powered vehicles and our food banks and now our Wi-Fi and phone? Stop scrolling. Bill C-8 is in Parliament right now. It gives the federal government a kill switch over your internet, your phone service, and your freedom of speech. Buried in section 15.2, it literally says that the minister can order your provider to suspend your service to any person. That means they can cut off your Wi-Fi, they can cut off your phone, they can cut off your platform if they find it necessary. They're claiming that this is for cybersecurity. There are no hard limits on the bill. There's no wording that protects people like me from being able to expose and speak about things that are happening in our government. There's no protections for journalists. One minister, one order, and suddenly you can't upload, you can't go live, can't speak out. That's the power that this bill has. We cannot let this happen. Tell your MP, share this, push back, because if this passes, every independent voice online, including mine, including yours, is at risk of being shut down with a flick of a switch.
Well, it looks like Canada's about to go dark, and we aren't even going to have any dissenting voices up there to keep us informed on what's going on. This is really getting scary. Nearly every country in the world right now is trying to lock their citizens down in some permanent state of submission. And if you think something like this can't happen in the United States, just wait. There aren't any actual laws on the books that require us to pay taxes, but they'll threaten you and take away your home or even potentially put you in prison if you don't get on board with it. We aren't supposed to be required any kind of license in order to drive freely on the roads, but they'll instantly cart your butt off to jail if you get caught without one. At no point are we supposed to be forced by our federal government to purchase a product, but get pulled over without car insurance and see what happens to you. These people will do anything they think they can get away with. And it's all rules for thee, none for me whenever they come up with this stuff. Just like that Obama-era health system they exempted themselves from. As many problems as we have here in the United States, though, it really looks like this is going to be the last holdout as far as all this extreme government control nonsense. But I fear it is coming. Let's not forget about all the coercion and manipulation we all experienced while trying to push back against the great 2020 mandated medical experiment.
September 11th, there was worldwide live television coverage, and the coverage continued throughout the day. The interesting thing is that at 10 p.m. London time, which is 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, they reported that the Solomon Brothers building, Building 7, had collapsed. The only problem is Building 7 didn't collapse until 5:20 p.m. New York time.
Now, more on the latest building collapse in New York. You might have heard a few moments ago I was talking about the Salomon Brothers building collapsing. And indeed it has. Apparently that's only a few hundred yards away from where the World Trade Center towers were. And it seems that this was not a result of a new attack. It was because the building had been weakened during this morning's attacks. We'll probably find out more now about that from our correspondent, Jane Stanley. Jane, what more can you tell us about the Salomon Brothers building and its collapse?
Well, only really what you already know. Details are very, very sketchy. There's almost a sense downtown in New York behind me, down by the World Trade Centers, of just an area completely closed off as the rescue workers try to do their job. As you can see behind me, the Trade Center.
Building 7 is clearly visible right behind the reporter. It wasn't until 5:20 Eastern Time that it came down.
Literally, the only logical explanation for this is that the reporters at the BBC were reading from a previously prepared script, and due to them not being familiar with the New York City skyline, they just didn't know what they were looking at. And it wouldn't be that big a deal if they had made that statement and then redacted it later on because the building didn't fall. They could just simply claim that they got confused or got bad info. But there's no other logical explanation for this one. I'm just hoping I can get away with posting this on YouTube. But if y'all haven't heard about it yet, Tucker Carlson just released a very detailed and very informative series on this, and I think there's like 5 parts to it, and you can watch every bit of it for free online right now. If you ever had any suspicions about what actually took place that day, you will really enjoy that series. I've read extensively on this stuff, and there was a ton of information in there that I had never heard before. But guys and gals, I apologize for the shorter length today. I've got a birthday party to plan for, so I've got to cut it a little short today, but I hope you enjoyed these clips we watched together. I'm going to go ahead and end the video right there. I'll be back on Monday with another video. I hope you come back to join me. Don't forget to click like and subscribe if you haven't already, and don't forget to leave your theories and your comments in the comment section down below. But guys and gals, I hope everyone has a great, safe, fantastic rest of your day, a phenomenal weekend, and I will see you all on Monday.